of love I heard you whisper. Those raindrops seem to repeat that sweet refrain. Though spring is here, I'll always remember that September in the rain. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to do a song for you by Antonio Carlos Jobim called Ginji. take me with you. Oh, don't you know, oh, Gigi, I've been running and searching for you like the river that can't find the sea. Oh, that would be me. Oh, my Gigi.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, folks. We'll bring you back later for some more music. I'm now going to invite Charles McAdams to come up here and introduce our speaker for today. And so I look forward to that. Charles?
Thanks, Richard. And I'm usually just up here testing the mic, not talking to y'all, but Bill is a good friend of mine, and I want to introduce him. Bill Ferguson is our main speaker for today. His topic is how to have love in every relationship. I'll read his bio first, and then I'll tell you a few personal words just from what I've done with Bill. So Bill's work has been called the penicillin of psychology. His book, How to Heal a Painful Relationship, has become a national bestseller. He's been featured on Oprah, and he was recommended by the Wall Street Journal. The Texas Counseling Association thinks so highly of his work, they asked him to deliver the keynote address at their annual convention. He has also taught over 2,300 counselors and therapists. For me personally, reading Bill's books, which was my first introduction to him back in 2005, and working with him has meant a lot to me. He's helped me with healing emotional pain, dealing with depression, and going for the things that really matter to me. Thinking about our core values at Oasis, Bill just reminds me of be accepting and be accepted. I think that'll come through today. I think you'll hear that. I encourage you to listen with an open mind and hear his unique perspectives. So please welcome Bill Ferguson.
Yeah, it's on now.
Okay, we're just going on. You're good now.
Okay, good. Well, that surprised me. Well, hello, everybody. I've been so much looking forward to being with y'all, and it's just something that I want to share that for me is like so exciting. I want to start with a question. How many of y'all love to be loved? Well, a very interesting question. What is love? What is love? What is it that we so much want? And we relate to love like it's a thing, but it's not a thing, it's an experience. It's a feeling. And when you're in that feeling, when you're experiencing love, you're experiencing who you are without the junk. In that experience of love, we're happy, we're alive, we're free, and in that experience of love, the circumstances of life have no power. They're irrelevant. And in that experience of love, you're present with who you are, you can listen to that guidance from within, and we're very effective. Life, how many of y'all notice that like when you're in that experience of love, life works so much better? See, and that's the natural state. That's who we are without the junk. Now, I want to kind of bring this back to relationships a little bit. I used to be a divorce attorney, and my focus as a divorce attorney was to have my clients heal their relationship, not as husband and wife, but just one human being to another. Because the more they could heal the relationship, the legal work became a lot easier. And I became really good at it. And one thing that I discovered is that love never, 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 never is love itself. I'm not talking about the experience of love, that I love somebody. That love never is enough to have a relationship work. The divorce courts are full of people that love each other. So the thing that makes the difference is not the love, it's the experience of love. If I interact with you in a way where you feel loved, our relationship's going to be great. If I interact with you in a way where you feel unloved, our relationship's going to be a disaster. So the thing that makes the difference is the experience of love. And what creates the experience of love is giving the gift of acceptance and appreciation. So if I genuinely accept you and appreciate you just for who you are, just the way you are, how does it feel? Yeah, it feels great. And then as I genuinely accept and appreciate you, you have that experience of love. You feel good. You feel empowered. You feel better about yourself. You feel better about life. And then notice that just automatically, how do you feel towards me? It's the same thing. Now, as I give the gift of love, love comes right back. You automatically become more accepting and appreciative of me. And then I feel empowered, and I feel better about myself and my life, and then I feel better about you. And then you feel better about me, and I feel better about you, and you feel better about me. And then we create this cycle of loving, supporting, and empowering each other that brings out the best in everybody. And that's the way most romantic relationships begin. And if you ever have like a really, really great friendship with somebody, that cycle is present. Now, so what creates the experience of love is giving acceptance and appreciation. You give love, love comes right back. What destroys the experience of love is the opposite. Being non-accepting, judgmental, critical. What is the matter with you? When are you going to shape up? So as I become non-accepting, judgmental, critical towards you, how does that feel? It hurts. And then notice just automatically, you're going to put up your walls of protection. Automatically. And then notice that just automatically, you're going to become non-accepting, judgmental, and critical towards me. And it's not something you think about. It just happens automatically. I give not love comes right back. You become non-accepting, judgmental, critical towards me. Then I get hurt. I get more upset. My walls become thicker. I become more critical of you. You become more critical of me. I become more critical of you. You become more critical of me. And instead of creating a cycle of loving, supporting, and empowering each other, we create a cycle of conflict, a cycle of hurting, attacking, and withdrawing from each other. Instead of bringing out the best in each other, we bring out the worst. So what I found is that every time there is a relationship that isn't working, the thing that we think are the problem are never, never the problem. They're the symptom. Anytime you have a relationship that isn't working, or any area of life that isn't working, every single time there's going to be something under the surface. There's an underlying condition of resisting or hanging on that ultimately is creating the problem. In relationships, almost always it's going to be this underlying cycle of conflict. So can y'all relate to the cycle of conflict? Okay, now here's something very interesting. One thing I discovered about the cycle of conflict is that it is physically impossible to have a cycle of conflict with one person. It can't happen. A cycle of conflict, it's like a tennis volley. I give non-acceptance to you. Then you give it right back to me. And I give it to you and you give it to me. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. As soon as somebody refuses to return the serve, the volley ends. What I discovered was that it only takes one person to heal a relationship. When I change how I relate to you, that is guaranteed to change how you respond to me. Relationships are not 100-100, and relationships are not 50-50. Relationships are 100-100. Literally, how I am towards you determines how you're going to respond to me. When I did the divorce work, very rarely did I ever see the other person. All I worked with was my client, but when my client changed how he or she was towards the other person, it changed how the other person responded in return. So what ended up happening was 15% of my clients canceled their divorce and got back together. And I never tried to get anybody back together because some people shouldn't be together. So that was never my focus. My focus was on healing the relationship, one human being to another. So 15% of my clients, as they ended that cycle of conflict, decided they didn't want a divorce. They got back together. And of the 85% that did divorce, virtually all of them did it as friends. And it only takes one person. When you give love, love comes right back. There's a quote from Martin Luther King that I love, and I'm going to blow the quote. But it's something to the essence of, love is the only power strong enough to turn an enemy into a friend. Love is the power of the universe. And we are so disconnected from it, we don't even know that it exists. We live in a world where all the focus is on the circumstances. He said, she said. And then we go through life trying to change the circumstances, but that's going through life trying to change the symptoms. So nothing ever changes. But when you can start looking to see what's going on inside, and you start healing and shifting inside, you change how you relate to life, and then life changes how it responds to you. It is possible to be in that experience of love most all the time. Now, has anybody noticed that there are some people in life that are very difficult to accept? So pick somebody in your life that's very difficult to accept. Okay, now take a look. Isn't that person exactly the way that person is? If you look, that person is exactly the way that person is. That person has his or her internal programming. That person has that person's fears and dreams, and it's like all the stuff in the package called that person. And how we feel about it is totally, totally, totally irrelevant. What acceptance is nothing more than being at peace with the truth. At any moment, the people in your life are exactly the way that they are. At any moment, the circumstances of your life are exactly the way that they are. At any moment, you are exactly the way that you are. What so is always, always, always what so, and our feelings about it are totally, totally, totally irrelevant. Except that when we can flow with what's so, we become very, very effective. When we fight what's so, we create our own hell. When you're at peace with what's so, you have peace on the inside. You see clearly, and you're very, very effective. And when you're at peace with what's so, you automatically look in a direction where solutions, opportunity, and possibilities show up. When we fight what's so, there is no focus on solutions. The focus is on resisting 180 degrees opposite. And when we resist our circumstances, when we fight our circumstances, that's what creates our hell. So I want to give you an example. My wife and I used to have a black and white cat. That cat wouldn't bark. It just wouldn't bark, and no matter what I did, it wouldn't bark. I can yell at the cat, I can scream at the cat, I can plead with the cat, I can rationalize with the cat. It didn't make any difference because no matter what I did, the cat wouldn't bark. That's the facts. Okay, now, if I want to hear barking and the cat doesn't bark, what do I need to do? Go get a dog. But you see, that's an example of how life works when we can flow with the truth. When you're at peace with the truth, you automatically look in a direction where solutions, opportunity, and possibility show up. It happens automatically. And if you look at the areas of your life that work great are areas where you can flow with whatever happens. Things happen you don't like, but you don't get hooked. Okay, this is the way things are. All right, based on the facts, what do I need to do? See, when we make decisions to take action based on facts, we're very effective. You see, but when we're fighting life, we're not dealing with facts, we're dealing with emotion. Don't bother me with the facts. Tell me how to avoid this hurt. So what we do is we fight in any area of life that isn't working. Anytime there's a relationship that isn't working, anytime there's any area of life that isn't working, what's happening is we're fighting the facts. We're fighting the truth. And then when we do that, we set in motion a whole bunch of very, very destructive processes. So, y'all with me so far? Okay, good. So, one of the things that happens when we fight the truth is we create a state of fear and upset. When we get upset, doesn't it look like our upsets are caused by what happened? That's an illusion that will keep us stuck forever, and that is an illusion that will produce tremendous suffering. Pick a time when you've been upset. Everybody got a time? Okay, something happened, didn't it? That's the facts. Something happened. And notice how totally irrelevant your feelings were about it. No matter how much you hated what happened, it still happened. Now, notice what would happen to the upset if somehow you were at peace with what happened. What would happen to the upset? It would go away. The upset would disappear because upsets are not caused by what happens. No circumstance has the ability to create an upset inside of us. An upset is a state of mind, and it can only exist if we're fighting what happens. If you can flow with the truth of what's going on, you have inner peace, you become very, very effective. Same with fear. An upset is created by resisting a past or present event. A fear is created by resisting a future event. So if I have a fear of losing somebody, I'm resisting this future event called losing the person. The more I resist losing the person, the bigger my fear. The bigger my fear, the more I'm threatened. The more I'm threatened, the more I hang on, the more I get upset easy, the more I may be controlling. But the more I'm going to act in a way that's going to be destructive, and I'm going to push the person away, which is going to bring to me the very thing I'm avoiding. If I have a fear of losing somebody, I'm going to act in a way that's going to tend to cause me to lose people. Whatever you fear, you're going to start, the fear itself will create a process that will tend to bring to you the very thing you fear. Another way of looking at this, whatever you need for your happiness, you will never get. Whatever you need for your happiness, you will never forget. Because the sense of need is an illusion. Happiness is never a function of our circumstances, it's a function of what's inside. The feeling of need is an illusion. So if I need success, I'm running from failure. If I need a loving relationship, I'm running from that childhood hurt of feeling not worth loving. It's like whatever you need whatever you feel that you need for your happiness, the sense of need comes from a fear. It comes from the avoidance of a hurt. And then that hurt forces us to act in a way that then tends to bring to us the very thing we need, or we think that we need. So the name of the game is to be able to flow with life. When we fight the way things are, we create a state of fear and upset. Another thing we do is we lose our power. We throw away our power. So I want to talk about cause and effect. At any moment, we are totally, hopelessly at the effect of the world around us. No matter what happens around us, we're going to react. Agreed? Yeah, we're hopelessly at the effect. Well, what we don't notice is that simultaneously, the world around us is always at the effect of us. No matter what we do or don't do, the world around us is going to respond accordingly. That makes us the cause. So simultaneously, we're totally at the effect of the world around us, and we're the cause of the world around us. We're the victim of the world around us, and we're the creator of the world around us, both at the same time, but we only experience ourselves as being one or the other. When you experience yourself as being at the effect, life is on top of you. Anytime you're upset, you're at the effect. Anytime you're in an area of life that isn't working, you're at the effect. When you're at the effect, you lose your confidence, you lose your energy. Being at the effect leads to depression, all sorts of nasty stuff. So can y'all relate to being at the effect? Yeah, as a culture, that's where we spend most of our time, at the effect. Okay, now let's look at the opposite. Have you ever had a time when there was something in your life that you were at the effect of? And it nagged at you and it nagged at you, and then you reached a point where you decided, all right, enough is enough, I'm tired of this, I'm going to handle it, and I don't care what it takes to handle it, but I'm going to handle it, I'm going to handle it now, and you started taking action to handle it. How many of y'all have ever done that? Okay, notice what happened inside the moment you did that. You shifted from being at the effect to being at cause. You got your power back in an instant. You were, instead of that area being on top of you, you're now on top of that area of life. See, living at cause is the natural state of who we are. The natural state of who we are is at cause. When you're at cause, you can make things happen. You can chart your course. And in that state, you're happy, you're alive, you're free. But there's something we do that destroys it. There's something we do that puts us at the effect. What it is we fight the truth of something. There's something that is in our life, some circumstances in our life, and we're fighting it. Instead of flowing with it, we're fighting it. And when we fight that circumstance, we give that circumstance all our power. We make it the cause, we make us the effect. And when you lose your power, you know, the quality of life isn't so great, and life doesn't work as well. So when we fight the truth, we create a state of fear and upset. We also throw away our power. We live at cause. Another thing that happens when we fight the truth is that we magnify whatever it is that we're fighting. Give you an example. Imagine on the ceiling above you 4 large yellow balloons. But whatever you do, don't think about them. Okay, what happens to the yellow balloons when you try not to think about them? You think about them. And the more you fight yellow balloons, you get yellow balloons everywhere. Well, the same thing applies in every single area of life. Has anybody ever had a relationship with somebody and that other person had a particular characteristic that you couldn't stand and you resisted that characteristic? What happens to the characteristic when you fight it? If you look, it grows. Fighting the characteristic doesn't make it go away. It makes it stronger. If I have a relationship and I have a fear of losing somebody, I'm going to interact in a way that's going to push her right out the door. So you want to get to the place where you're willing for anything to happen. Not in your actions, but in your heart. In your actions, you do everything you can to have your life be great, but in your heart, if it happens, it happens. I'll deal with it. It's called letting go. So in my example, I've got a fear of losing somebody. Well, the more I resist losing her, the more I push her out the door. So to have my fear lose its power, I got to do the opposite of what gives it power. Instead of resisting the future event, I got to be willing for the future event to happen. Not in my actions, but in my heart. In my actions, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she doesn't leave. But in my heart, if she goes, I'll deal with it. The moment I become willing to lose her, my fear disappears. And when my fear disappears, I become present, I see clearly, and then automatically I put my focus on what needs to be done based on facts instead of emotion. See, and that's the key, because when we can make decisions and take action based on facts, we're very effective. But anytime there's an area of life that isn't working or a relationship that isn't working, what's happening, it's not about facts, it's about emotion. So on the surface, we resist certain circumstances. But at a deeper level, we never resist the circumstances. We resist all the feelings and emotion that get triggered by the circumstances. When we get triggered, some nerve has just been struck. Notice that different people get upset at different things. Different people get upset at different things because each person has a different set of nerves that get triggered. And ultimately, what these nerves are, it's the childhood hurt of feeling worthless, not good enough, not worth loving, failure, something like that. See, when we're born, we're present with who we are. We're happy, we're alive, we're free. You know, look at little kids. Look at the innocence of little kids, the beauty of little kids. You know, we all start out that way. By the way, I love to go for walks, and I walk by this elementary school. And the kids are out there playing, and you listen to the kids playing. It is the sound of life. It is so beautiful. And that's who we are. You know, we start out that way. But we're born into a world that kills it. We're born into a world that's judgmental and critical. And what happens is that we collide with our culture, and every one of us, we experience very, very, very painful losses of love. How many of y'all can relate to being hurt as a child? We've all been hurt. And then in that hurt, we can't help but blame ourselves. Clearly, I'm the problem. And then we decide what that problem is. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth loving. I'm worthless. I'm a failure. I'm this. I'm that. And it's never the truth, but in the eyes of a little child, it becomes our truth. And then we spend the rest of our lives running from it. Yay. Okay, I want to give you an example of where this hurt gets created. Years ago, I was in a department store, and actually Sharpstown, when it was at its prime, 4 billion years ago. Anyway, there was a mother and daughter shopping. The little girl was about 4 years old, and she spilled her drink, which is exactly what 4-year-olds do. And the mother got real upset at her, started yelling at her, saying, "What's the matter with you? Why are you so stupid?" Okay, how many times is that precious little 4-year-old going to hear that before she believes it? Probably just once. And then what happens is the little girl can't help but believe it. My mom knows everything, and she says I'm stupid, so I must be stupid. You know, and I did spill my drink, and then last week I got my shoes muddy, and then before that the other thing happened, and you know, so obviously I'm stupid. And then she takes it a step further, and she decides nobody can love me if I'm stupid. Stupid is a horrible way. Look at my mom. My own mom doesn't love me because I'm stupid. I can't be stupid. I got to be smart. So she'll spend the whole rest of her life running from that hurt of stupid, doing everything she can to be smart. But no matter what she accomplishes, she can have 7 PhDs, and she'll never accomplish enough on the outside to get rid of that hurt on the inside. And the exact same thing happens to every single one of us. By the way, you ever know of people that have to be right? Guess what? The people that have to be right are running from the hurt of that they're wrong, more specifically that they're stupid. Every area of life that doesn't work can be traced back to this hurt. In relationships, what happens is these nerves collide. I do what I do, strikes the nerve in her, she gets upset, reacts negatively, strikes the nerve in me, I get more upset, I strike the nerve in her, she strikes the nerve in me, I strike the nerve in her, she strikes the nerve in me, and it's like back and forth like ping pong. Finding and healing this hurt is literally, it's one of the most important things you can do, because until we can heal it, we will be forced to act in the same way, which will force us to repeat the past over and over and over again. So I want to talk a little bit about like how do you find the hurt, how do you get to the other side of it. Okay, first thing in finding the hurt is you keep in mind you're not looking for the truth, you're looking for an emotion. So to say that the little girl really is stupid is nonsense. The little girl could actually have a genius IQ. I have worked with people who are members of Mensa, people who are certified geniuses. They got major issues with stupid. You know, when you're dealing with this hurt, the hurt has absolutely nothing to do with the facts. It's just a suppressed emotion. So to look for the hurt, you're not likely to ever know where the hurt got started. But I'm going to give you another example of how it gets started. But what's important, you can look at your life today to see what it is. By the way, another example of where it gets started. There was a little boy, a little girl, and a dad. The little girl had just gotten big enough where she was able to get a bicycle with training wheels. And so the little girl and the dad started to take off on the bike. The little boy couldn't do that. He was too little. All he knew is his sister and their dad were having fun, and they were leaving him. So in that moment, the little boy could decide that he's not worth loving. And then spends the rest of his life running from it. And then once that hurt gets there, it gets triggered again. Every time it gets triggered, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it goes from there. But you're not likely to ever know where your hurt got started, but you can discover what it is today. One way to find what it is to look at your upsets. Make a list of all your major upsets and then look to see, based on the facts, based on the emotion, not the facts, but based on the emotion, what do those circumstances say about me? And look for the words that are not okay, the words of not okay that hurt the most. Then look at your fears. If your fears came true, what's the hurt you'd have to feel? What do those circumstances say about you? What are the areas of your life where you suffer? Because those are areas where you're fighting the truth. Well, what do those circumstances say about you? So you want to look to find what the nerve is. The next step is to be able to heal it. And I want to talk a little bit about healing emotion. Anytime we get upset, some hurt is being triggered. And this suppressed hurt messes up our life big time. It forces destructive behavior. And there's a direct link between suppressed emotion and very serious physical problems. Cancer, heart disease, multiple sclerosis, on and on. They're discovering now that even diabetes, there's a connection between diabetes and suppressed hurt. The more suppressed hurt you got, the more susceptible you are to diabetes. So the body knows this. The body just naturally wants to purge itself of this negative energy. Well, to look to see how the body does that, the best way to see how the body does that is to look at little kids. Little kids are masters at releasing emotion. So when little kids get hurt, what do? They cry, and they cry, and they cry, and they cry, and then when they get through crying, what happens to the hurt? It's gone. To tell you a story, there was a little girl that she was about 4 years old, and she just had a fight with her brother. And she said, I can't play right now. I got about 5 minutes of crying to do. And she went into her bedroom, shut the door, and about 5 minutes later she came out, okay, I'm ready. But you know, when we start out with the ability to be pure. We start out pure. We start out with that ability to maintain that. Well, the thing that little kids do that's so powerful is they feel their hurt willingly. That's the key. They feel the hurt willingly. And in feeling it willingly, that allows it to come, run its course, and go. Now, crying doesn't equal healing. It's how we feel the hurt determines whether it goes or it stays. When you feel it willingly like a child, it comes, it runs its course, and it goes. Have you ever had a time in your life when you've been hurt and you cried and you cried and then you cried the last tear, and then after you cried the last tear, you felt a wonderful freedom? That'll be a time when you felt your hurt willingly. That's the key. Feel it willingly. A number of years ago, I got a phone call saying that my mother had died. And I was very close to my mom, so I had this explosion of emotion. And the worst thing I could have done would have been to suppress it. Because if I suppressed that emotion, I would have been in pain for the rest of my life. So I wanted to do everything I could to get that hurt out of me. So I let it take over, and I fell to the floor, and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. But I did it willingly. And then there was a moment when it just lifted, and I felt better after I cried the last tear than I did before I got the phone call. Because in the releasing of the emotion, I was returned to who I am. See, that's the key, to feel it willingly like a child. But that's not what we're taught. Our culture teaches us something very different. You want to cry about something? I'll give you something to cry about. How many people have ever heard that? Years ago, I was doing a program, and my son was in the program, and I made that comment. It's like, how many of y'all have ever heard that? And he was in the back of the room going like that to me. Because I taught him that. You know, it's like, that's what our culture teaches, and then we pass it on and pass it on. But it's one of the most destructive things that we're taught. Because when you fight the hurt, it doesn't make it go away. It turns it into pain, and it makes it stay. And then, not only are we taught don't feel the hurt, so we avoid the hurt because you got to be strong, don't feel the hurt. But when we fight the hurt, it turns into pain, and then now it's too scary to feel the hurt. So it's not just that we're taught we shouldn't feel it, now it's too scary to feel it, so we spend our life running from it, which forces us to act in a way that creates more and more and more and more of it. I went 25 years without crying. You know, I used to be a Marine Corps captain, black belt in karate, all that stuff. Men don't cry. Somewhere along the line, I learned that not only is it okay to cry, it's essential. It's what cleanses your soul. And I shifted to, so I became willing to cry, I became willing to feel my hurt, and then I shifted it further, so instead of running from my hurt, I would run towards it. I would welcome more opportunities to get that junk out of me. And as I did that, I felt better with life. I was more able to flow with life. But something that very special happened that I could never have expected. The more I became willing to feel my hurt, the less I needed my walls of protection. My walls of protection came down, and when my walls came down, the love that is who I am came out. And then the people around me felt loved, they felt empowered, and then their walls came down, and they expressed their love to me. And then I felt more love towards them, they felt more love towards me. So the thing that surprised me is the more I became willing to feel my hurt, the more I was willing to be vulnerable. And in that willingness to be vulnerable, I've got more love in my life now than I ever dreamed possible for any human being to ever have. And that's the natural state. The other thing is that the more we're willing to be vulnerable, it's actually our greatest protection. The more I'm willing to be vulnerable, the more I create an environment of love which dissolves opposition and resistance. The more I'm unwilling to be vulnerable, I'm going to create opposition and resistance. So I want to be vulnerable. Now, that willingness to be vulnerable doesn't mean be a doormat or let the train roll over you. You say no when you need to say no. You do what you need to do. You just do it with an open heart. So, bottom line, who you are, who all of us are, is pure love, pure creation, pure possibility. Who we are is created in the image and likeness of God, but we become so removed from it. And now it's time to get back. And one of the keys in doing that is the willingness to feel the hurt. Because the more you're willing to feel the hurt, the more you're able to flow with life, the more you dissolve opposition, the more you create an environment of love. And I suspect that ultimately, all of life's lessons are brought to us to teach us to let go and trust. Trusting that we'll be okay no matter what happens. So I have run out of time. There's so much to say and so little time, but I want you to know I have so much enjoyed being with y'all and sharing this with you.
Thank you, Bill. That was great. I think what we'll do now is we're gonna have, I'm gonna take the MC's prerogative and say 12-minute coffee break instead of the usual 10-minute. So go ahead and take a coffee break. The red light is on the coffee machine out there, and then we'll come back in here exactly 12 minutes from now, and then, Bill, if it's okay, we'll have a short Q&A. That would be great. Thank you so much. And then we'll have music, another song from the trio, and then we'll go on from there. Thank you.
sleepless nights were not in vain, for we're together, and what is there to fear as long as we are together? And our love is as deep as the sea, and our love is as great as can be. Oh yes, sirree, and we can weather the great unknown. If we're alone, if we're alone, if we're alone together. Thank you very much.
That was beautiful. We're going to have the Q&A now, and then we'll have you guys back for some more music. Thank you. So, yeah, Bill, come on up, and let's do a little Q&A here. I'm sure people have some comments or questions or cat calls or whatever. Hopefully no cat calls. And then we got the microphone coming around. Kevin's got the microphone. Kevin, over here, there's, oh.
Test. Q&A mic test, yes.
Well, one thing I want to say right before we start, if you want, my focus on, I want to get this information out into the world. I think the world needs this. So if you all have any opportunities or know places where I can go out and share this more with people, let me know. Also, I do a lot of individual work with people. When I work with people, people come to me, they're suffering from some area of their life. And then what we do is that we look and see, well, what's the underlying condition that's causing the suffering? And then we look to see, what is it that's fueling the condition, and then we dismantle it. Because when you remove the underlying condition, solutions show up, and then that area of life clears up. So I do a lot of individual work with people. I have a website that's masteryoflife.com, and that's got a lot of information on there. And also I'll put some of my business cards on the back table, so if you want them, here they are. So anyway.
Love the presentation. Thank you. Bill, you had mentioned when you were talking about your early career as a divorce attorney, you mentioned that about 15% of the people got back together, which wasn't your intent, and you went on to say you felt that there were some people that should not be together.
Yes.
That suggests to me that there are some differences that can't be bridged.
Okay.
Can you give some examples
Sure.
of people you
Well,
think
let
should
me
be
give you-
together?
See, in order for a relationship to be great, it has to be a fit. If it's not a fit, there's not much you can do to make it be one. Like the square peg isn't going to fit the round hole. It's got to be a fit. And but when I work with people, usually when they're in the turmoil, they don't know if it's a fit or not, because with the cycle of conflict, there's so much hurt and upset, they can't tell. But when you get rid of the hurt and the upset, you get the love back, one human being to another, then it starts becoming very obvious, should you be together or not. So what happens, so what I do is I tell people, don't worry about whether you're together or not. That's not important. What's important is to end the conflict, heal the hurt, and restore the love, one human being to another. And then it starts becoming obvious whether you should be together or not. And if the relationship is a fit, you come back together like magnets. And if it's not a fit, you go your separate ways, but you do it in a way that's loving and supportive. So that's life according to Bill. Yeah. And, it is possible to be at peace with anybody just the way they are. But obviously, the more it's a fit, the easier it is.
Had you always had this perspective as as a divorce lawyer, or did you ever have a sort of cynical streak when you were practicing?
Well, it's been an evolution. When I practiced law, I first started discovering about the experience of love in relationships. And then, I closed the law practice, started doing the workshops and writing the books and all that. And I started discovering, well, it's not just about having the experience of love in relationships, it's about having the experience of love in all of life. And then I started discovering that there's two different realms. There's the realm of who we are, the light, and then there's the realm of circumstances, the darkness. And then I kept working with living in the light. How do you live in the light? And I started discovering what it is that destroys it, which is these core issues. that suppressed hurt. That's the thing that destroys the love and sabotages our lives. So I started learning about that and healing that, and then where what I'm discovering now is something to me that is so special, and it's like, my words, living in the presence of God. It's like beyond living in the experience of love. It's beyond living in the light. It just, being in the presence of God is something that is just like, I can't even say it without being moved to tears. And that's not the end. There's so much more after that, but that's where I am. And so it's been an evolution over, 35, 40 years or so.
So, Bill, since this is a largely secular group, is there a way, in other words, is it possible to bring this message, because you've got a lot of nice messages,
Yeah.
to a group that is largely secular?
Well, it's like, whether somebody's secular or they have a religion or whatever, there's something that's in us. There's something in us, and the words that you put on it aren't relevant. What's relevant is to discover that in you, and then and bring that forth. And it's something that's so special. But the words you put on it are irrelevant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill. So I have a 9-year-old son who I fall in love with every time I look at him. I'm happily divorced from his mum. But in that relationship, it's created a lot of hate inside of me, and also a lot of negativity when we're together, which we don't do anymore. So I suppose my question is twofold. How do I deal with the hate? Because I'm a lover, but these feelings and these emotions I have towards her are very negative. And then the second thing is, I have another 9 years of her having to be in my life. So how do I deal with that positively?
Okay. Anger, resentment, and blaming are subconscious defense mechanisms. Anger, resentment, or blaming are something that we put there to avoid feeling our hurt. She's the problem, she's the cause, she's the fault, not me. Anger, always, anger is pure avoided hurt. If you can go to the hurt that's under the anger and allow yourself to feel that hurt willingly like a child, the anger disappears in an instant. I want to give you an example in my life. I was married many years ago, and we had a very destructive marriage. The cycle of conflict began the day we got married. And incidentally, we had to get married, so that didn't help. So anyway, we had the cycle of conflict from the very beginning. We stayed together, I think, about 7 years, had a very destructive divorce, and we hated each other for years, literally hated each other. And then 4 years after the divorce, I had 2 realizations that profoundly changed my life. The first realization was I saw that underneath all my hatred and bitterness and anger was a tremendous amount of hurt. And then I saw that what was under the hurt was the love. The love never, ever goes away. It just gets buried by all the junk. Well, I saw the love. I saw that underneath it all, I loved her. Now, I didn't want to live with her. At the time, I didn't even want to see her, but I couldn't deny the love was there. The love was there. Seeing that created a safety that for me to have the breakthrough I had the next day that profoundly changed my life. On the next day, I saw, and I got it deep in my heart, I saw that every destructive thing she did to me, and there was a long list of things, every destructive thing she did to me was a direct result of destructive things I did to her. Relationships are not 50-50, they're 100-100. For the very first time, I saw my 100%. I got to my core that I single-handedly destroyed my marriage, not her. Now, that's not to say she wasn't responsible, because she was also 100%. But when we point at the other person's 100%, even though we're telling the truth, we're giving them all our power. So anyway, I got my 100%. I called her on the phone, took full responsibility for all the suffering. My relationship with her started healing overnight. And then the thing that I'm so thankful for was that I got deep in my soul that I am personally 100% responsible for the presence or absence of love in my relationship with every single person on the planet. I am always 100% responsible for the presence or absence of love in all of my relationships. And then that realization was so powerful that it gave me the power to have all of my relationships work. Since then, every single one of my relationships has worked. But that's not to say that I would get the type of relationship I want. Like I would want to be married to somebody, she wouldn't want to have anything to do with me. Or I would want to stay married with somebody and she doesn't want to. You know, but it's like, I don't have power over the form, but I can always have the love one human being to another. And that's the key. The thing that's so important is to heal your relationship one human being to another. And then as you do that, all sorts of wonderful things start happening.
Bill, I think we're going to have to end it there. However, I wanted to ask, we're having a potluck after this, after the gathering itself. And are you going to be able to stick around for a little while in
For a
case
little
people?
bit, yeah.
Yeah, for a little bit. So, yeah, so you can go directly up to Bill after when we're in our potluck. Can we have the band come back up and do a little more music for us? And then, yeah, great.
Great.
Summertime and the living is easy. The fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your mom is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up and sing, and you'll spread your wings and take to the sky. But until that morning, ain't nothing gonna harm you. With Daddy and Mammy stacking. got your carpet, and the cotton is so high. Oh, your dad is rich and your mama is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Don't you cry. Oh, don't you cry. Thank you very much. I can't give you anything but love and soup. Oh, I can't give you anything but love, my baby. That's the one thing this old heart has plenty of, my baby. Dream a while and scheme a while. You will surely find happiness, and I guess all those things you always pine for. Gee, I like to see you looking so darn swell, my baby. Those diamond bracelets were worth doesn't sell. No, 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 baby. Till that lucky day you no, well, I can't give you anything but love, love. L-O-V spells love. That's Cory Wilson. Get up from Brendan Ace. Brendan Ace. Oh, I can't give you anything but love, my baby. That's the one thing this old heart has plenty of, my baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, you will surely find happiness, and I guess all those things you always pine for. Gee, I like to see you look and smell, my baby. Diamond bracelets, Woolworth doesn't sell. No, my baby, till that lucky day. You know damn well I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything. I can't give you anything but love.
That was wonderful. Thanks. Folks, don't forget that a lot of love, Bill Ferguson would say, a lot of love went into making this bulletin. It's got a lot of great information in it, so please look through it. It tells you about activities that are occurring during the week, not just at the Sunday gathering, although we love seeing you here. And we want to highlight that Oasis is going to have a booth at the Pride Parade, which is at City Hall the last Saturday of this month. That's also listed in here. And there's ways you can get a hold of people to find out what's going on and stuff. So take a look at the bulletin. It's portable, so you can take it with you. We are going to have potluck. Some people prefer to call it bring your own lunch. And no, you don't have to bring food. You don't have to feel guilty about not having brought food. We will still let you eat, or at least watch us eat. But but we'd love to have you here. And Bill promised to stick around for a little while and answer some questions and stuff like that. So thank you so much. Oh, and then Terry. Yeah, great. And Terry is our illustrious Oasis president, by the way. So, that's why she's so well informed. But yeah, by all means, take advantage of the child care that we have available here every week. So, great. All right. So, and thanks to the musicians. That's about it. So we are going to rearrange the chairs. We'll have some tables. You can choose your table, or a table will be selected for you in some cases, and then you can join us and have more intimate conversations. Thank you.